Right, it is Saturday. We're in for a breezy day. I hope the audio is okay because, well, it's very windy and it normally picks up a lot of wind noise, but I've got the mic on today, so hopefully that will help a little bit. We can see we're not in the full brunt of the wind yet, I don't think, but we're getting between 40 and 50 mile per hour gusts. Quite unseasonable. And obviously this time of year, sort of mid-July, where leaves are in full swing on the tree, so there's a lot of resistance there, so we'll see how things go. But just a look at really what we can do to protect any plants from the wind, and to be honest, that is, I don't tend to bother too much. I mean, you're going to get banana leaves shredding, you're going to get damage from, other close by limbs from trees or foliage rubbing against each other, possible snapping of large leafed plants. But again, we're sort of fairly limited, but I have done a couple of things. So we're looking at the bird of paradise here, which is basically just a big wind sail. Again, I'm not too temperamental. I don't mind a bit of shredding on these. I think that's what they're evolved to do. That's, the leaf does that to protect the main stem from snapping. But what we have got is quite a stretched specimen, because half the year it is grown indoors or sort of protected from wind in the summer house, as it were. So what we've done is I've just put a stake in. So this is a smaller pot in a larger pot. So I put the stake the size of the larger pot, and I've just tied it in with a bit of string just to give it a little bit of support, because what we don't want, and we expect, like I say, maybe some damage to the leaves, but what we don't want is basically the plant itself at the ground level to snap, because again, with a strong wind, these big leaves, sails, they're going to blow about, and if you snap it off at the point here, right at the bottom, then you're probably looking at a dead plant. So I'd rather just lose the odd leaf than, have the whole plant die. So that's my theory behind that. So I've just tied it in at this point, which is going to just give it a little bit of support, from rocking too much. So at least if we do lose a leaf, we haven't lost the whole plant, that will continue to grow. Exactly the same with this one. We've got a stake in, we've tied it off about 18 inches up the stem, and we'll see how it goes. Obviously we've got quite a long leaf on this. I mean, if I was that fussy, I would, again, these are in small pots, I could just pull this out and put it in the greenhouse or in the house for now, just out the wind. But I'm not going to go with that extreme. Just a quick fix will suffice on these particular plants. So again, I mean, you can minimise damage by where you decide to plant your big leaf plants, as it were. With this Enset Morellii, again, you're going to get a little bit shredding on the leaves, but it is sort of tucked away quite close to a fence, not to the point where the leaves are going to be smashing against the fence and damaging them, but a little bit of sheltered position for your big leaf plants. So that's a bit of forethought before you plant them out, rather than have them in there, fully exposed middle of the garden. I've done that with bananas before. They don't look good. In fact, I went to the extreme of digging all of them out. I did have basically a banana grove in the middle of the garden here, and what I found is every year they just looked messy. So I end up digging them all out and putting them to the sides, closer to the fence. So this is one of the ones we dug out, Musa Baju. As we can see, none of the leaves have actually shredded yet, and that is due to proximity to the fence, so a little bit of sheltered, and we've got some soft foliage behind it in the form of the grapevine. So if it knocks against that, it's not going to do too much damage to the leaves either. So in general, I don't expect, I mean, you're always going to get a strong wind gust and maybe snap a leaf in half or get a little bit of shredding, but you know, again, just thinking about where you're planting these big leaf plants to start with. Again, we've got a cluster of bananas here. At the moment, all the leaves are still intact, but we'll see how they go as well. I will say, even though it's windy, it is still quite warm. We're getting sort of sunny, cloudy intervals, and even with the wind, it's still quite muggy and warm because we've had a fair bit of rain lately, which is good. So this is the new banana we bought last week, and it's already opened up the new leaf. So nothing to worry about if the older leaves are looking a bit sort of sad. I mean, that's just down to, you know, being in the pot, probably not watered enough, and, you know, stress of transportation and getting knocked about this, that and the other. But we can see the new leaf has opened up, looking quite good. In fact, the back of the leaf is really nice colour. Anyway, so again, I mean, you're always going to have problems with your Trachycarpus palms. You know, they're going to flop down in the wind. They look nice when they're nice, stiff, upright, but I mean, other than the waggy, of course, which the wind is not going to affect that because that's so tough leaves on them. Right, so what I did also do is, again, we've got some potted palms. So I've got a Cyagrus here, Cyagrus coronata, so it's a relative of the queen palm, and the leaves on this, even the strap leaves, are absolutely massive. They're probably about 8-9 foot tall. It's just started to go pinnate, so we don't really want them sort of snapping too much. I mean, where it is, it's a fairly sheltered position, sort of in front of bamboo and Spanish reed, so a little bit of a buffer to the wind, but it depends on which way the wind comes from. But luckily I'm inside a seating area with a frame around it, so what I have done is just tied to the post and just around the fronds, sort of mid level of the fronds. And again, you're always maybe going to get the end of the fronds sort of snap and get damaged, but what we don't want to do, again, is with such a resistance to the wind, we don't want it sort of snapping off down at root level, you know, surface level of the soil. If that snapped, then that's dead. So I'd rather have a bit of damage to the leaves rather than, you know, lose the whole plant. Again, if I was really fussy, I would bring this in. It is a potted specimen, but in reality, it's been raining, as the soil's wet, it's going to be quite heavy to move, and we'll take our chances. Got another palm this side. This is the foxtail palm, which has just opened up, or starting to open up a new leaf there. Also worked another frond, but again, that is actually leaning against the post at the minute, and again fairly sheltered, so we should hopefully get minimal damage on that. So in reality, if you're really temperamental, I suppose you could wrap up any big foliage plants in frost cloth, in effect, to, you know, wrap them fairly tight to stop any wind damage. But to be honest, it's more trouble than it's worth. You're gonna just let nature take this course. Basically, you're always going to get a bit of damage, especially when with these unseasonable winds. And in fairness, you know, the garden is fairly open, or my garden is fairly open, but we have got, depending on which way the wind comes, we've got the big trees at the back here, which do give us a lot of protection, and not so much from the front because we're in a bungalow here, so the wind does sort of whip over the top and come down again. Yeah, so I don't think we need to worry too much. I mean, 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts is, living on the coast here in Suffolk, it's not unusual for us, to be fair. We are in quite a windy location, so we're used to it. You know, albeit not so much this time of year, but Gunner, the leaves on them are so tough that I'll be surprised if we get any damage on there. Right, so we'll leave it there. Again, just a sort of pre-thought at the beginning of the season, maybe if you planting new plants, get them in a sheltered position. Again, we've got another giant bird of paradise here. Just opened up a new leaf. Already got a bit of a shred at the side there, but again, that's going to happen. But it is tucked up against a fence, so you know, sometimes a good thing, sometimes a bad thing. You know, the leaves bash up against the fence, but also depending on which way the wind comes, it gives it a bit of shelter as well. And probably one to be concerned about is the big leaf rhododendron. As we can see, even with the wind as it is, there's really not much movement down here. It is a really sheltered position. So we've got the fence one side, we've got cord lines and the tree fern in the front of it. So this one is one that you could probably get damage on. You know, the chances are you're going to snap off a whole branch on that rather than just leaf damage, but we'll see. That is probably one of the more sheltered parts of the garden, so hopefully we should be okay on that front. What you are going to get with cord lines, especially this time of year after they've just finished flowering, you know, it zaps a lot of energy from them. You're going to get a lot of dead leaves, the older leaves, and you are going to get this situation where you're going to get the leaves scatter everywhere. So it's just a matter of, you know, once the wind is gone, there's no point picking up as you go, because they're just going to keep dropping until the wind drops. So we will tidy up and sort them out maybe tomorrow when the wind settles down a bit. But yeah, still a warm and pleasant day. Like I say, we've had plenty of rain, so that's good for this time of year, because last year we had no rain for months on end. The plants are responding well to the rain, they're enjoying it, especially some of the newer plantings, which, you know, saves me a lot of hassle watering every day when the ground is pretty, I won't say saturated, but it's nice and moist, and we have got a mulch layer on there to hold in the moisture as well. So right, let's leave it there. So just a bit of pre-thought on your plantings, and any potted plants you can move, maybe move them to a sheltered position or shed, garage, summer house, whatever, just in the strongest of the winds, and you should be okay to just try and minimise that damage. Right, let's leave it there. Thanks for watching.